For our second practice set, we'll look at rounding. Rounding's not specific necessarily to positive and negative numbers, but this is where we're looking at the concept. Alright, so we're rounding to the place that's underlined in any of these questions, so that means the 8 here that's in the tenths hundredths column is the one that we're rounding to, and we always look just directly to the right of that number to see if it's large enough to make that 8 increase or stay the same. So if it's between 0 and 4, it stays the same, if you can read that. And if it's between 5 and 9, that 8 would round up by 1. So the result here, 7, is large enough to make that 8 go up, so we end up at 3.59. Notice that we chop off anything after the place that we've rounded to. Our intention was to round to 2 decimal places, so we don't put a 0 in place of where that 7 was, because there wasn't a 0 there. We were just making an approximation and saying that this number is closer to 3.59 than it was to 3.58. So this one is a slightly more complicated version of that type of rounding, but the same idea. What we always do is we always figure out, okay, so again it's the hundredths column that we're rounding to here. We look to the next column. If it's large enough, yes it is. It's a 5 through 9, so that means that the 9 is going to increase. Now, trouble is, what happens when 9 increases by 1? Well, it's 10. So actually there's going to be a carryover that happens there, and that 9 is also going to become 10, and there's going to be another carryover there. So let's just go back for 1 second here. Another way to look at this might be that 31.99, if rounded up by 1/100th, is actually really close to 32, and in fact 32.00 if we're rounding to that decimal place. So that's another way to look at this, but I'm going to walk you through each step as we go. Alright, so once again, the 5 is large enough to make the 9 go up. Everything behind it is going to get chopped off. The 9 is going to increase to 10. Alright, and that 1 from the 10 carries up to the next column here, and that 9 is going to increase to 10. Yep, and the 1 from that 10 is going to carry up to the next column, and there we have it, 32.00, and that is enough decimal places. You might be tempted to drop off those last 2 zeros, but those were approximately measured, so we'll leave those there.